Absolute Batman issue 1, Scott Snyder writing with Nick Dragotta on the art. So this is a heftier book. I don't know if this is going to be every issue is going to be this page
Yeah.
count, or if this is just a special issue 1 kind of like kickoff thing.
Yeah.
But heftier page count, and we get introduced to a Batman as well as some other prominent characters in Batman lore. We get our version of Alfred here, our version of Gordon, our version of whoever else, and kind of like how things are a little bit different in this new universe, right?
The absolute universe, right? That's what
Yeah. And it's so funny though, because obviously we compared this to the Ultimate Universe when they announced all this stuff. But I have to admit, it did sort of remind me of reading some Ultimate Spider-Man. Not in it's similar to that book, but just in the sense of I'm like, oh, there's this kind of sense of discovery of like, okay, how's everything different here? How's it working here?
Yeah, you see the phrase Mayor Gordon, and you're like, oh, okay, that's different.
Yeah.
And you're kind of just along for the ride. So I just looked. Absolute Batman 2 is only 32 pages, so
That's normal.
That's a normal run. So yeah, this was just exercised number 1 issue.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought this was pretty good.
It was, so not that I was dreading it, right? But I kind of I'm a bit head shy when it comes to Snyder Batman, right? Rightfully so. But I went in with open mind. And when I was reading it, I was like, "Is this my new favorite kind of Batman?" Because you can't, in a way, Snyder could, because Batman, this character, but this Batman's hands are kind of tied behind his back by his differing, presence in Gotham and origin and whatnot. So this is a very rough and tumble, scraping by style of Batman. And that's one I can't remember ever reading. So the fact that it makes that feel fresh, while also it feels very much like Batman that we're familiar with. So it gets that balance down really well, even in this first issue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to agree that I don't think we've ever read a scraping by Batman. That has definitely happened at some point in the comics, but I mean, it's interesting getting all the lore here. They do kind of a fake out at the start where there's someone on a bike, and you're like, oh, this must be Bruce, this must be Batman. And then you find out, no, it's actually Alfred, who's like an assassin in this universe, working for a mysterious, like,
organization.
Yeah, organization, a force of some kind who's sending him on missions. And he's here in Gotham, and he hates being in Gotham. But he's here because there's this gang who are getting really violent and doing a lot of brutal stuff. They're burning down orphanages. They're burning down all sorts of things. They're just killing people in the streets.
Yeah, and they're wearing these black like primate masks, and they call themselves the Party Animals, and they seem like a threat. Like Pete just said, they're burning down orphanages, and like they're setting buildings on fire and shooting the people coming out and stuff. And it sets the tone that this Gotham is much more brutal than a Gotham that we're used to.
It's much darker. It feels a lot more violent and visceral, and people are scared to even walk in the streets and that kind of thing. And of course, Alfred's going to cross paths with Batman at some point. In fact, they even tease it here because whoever he's talking to on the phone says that, there's another interested party who we think is circling the gang. And you're like, oh, that's Batman. Okay, right. Now we're getting to like where Batman's going to come into it. And an interesting bit of lore here that's introduced when we get introduced to Bruce, who's at the gym, Croc's gym, so it's Wayland Jones's gym, is that Bruce went to, well, I don't know, given the reveal at the end, I don't know if it's an orphanage, but he definitely went to school with a number of the villains. There's a photograph on the wall of him with Harvey, with Penguin, with Selina, with Riddler, and one more I'm forgetting.
Well, Croc's the other one.
And Croc,
they go way back. Yeah, so there's this picture, and the way that he mentions them is Harvey, Selina, Edward, Oswald.
Technically he says Eddie, he doesn't say Edward, because it took me a second. I'm like, wait, Eddie, who's Eddie? I had to think about it. I'm like,
so there's this familiarity that he almost has now more in common with these characters than Bruce Wayne in the past. Also, he went to school in Crime Alley, like that's where he grew up, and so he's again he's Batman from the bad part of town, right? But he's still very much Bruce Wayne in that he seems to care about things, outside of himself.
Yeah, and an interesting little detail here is Wayland's trying to get him to come to the poker game, so which implies that they're all on some level friends. Although it does kind of suggest that Penguin's already becoming something of a crime boss, and Bruce kind of references that Penguin is going to get himself into trouble, so clearly he's aware of what Penguin's up to. Also, Wayland tries to entice Bruce to come to the poker game by saying, "Hey, I'm even trying to get Selina to come." And Bruce sort of stands his ground and says he can, but that certainly does imply that, you know, possibly since childhood there has been a romantic interest between them.
Between the two of them.
Yeah. So
also it's one of these things too where, you know, Bruce is this big hulking menace of a guy, and he knocks down one of Croc's punching bags, right? And he says, I'll charge you for it. And he gives him the numbers, right? And we're predisposed to think, oh, it's Bruce Wayne, he'll just pay for a new gym. And he's like, well, and the way that Bruce reacts is like, I don't have that kind of money. He's like, well, then stop destroying my bags. You know, again, there was another little piece in the character right there.
Well, I think what's more interesting to me here is that, okay, so it sounds like Penguin is becoming Penguin. From what we hear, I mean, we've not even met him yet, but from the sounds of it here, it sounds like he's becoming what we think of as the Penguin. But the other characters, like, okay, Wayland's holding like a crocodile on his arms, like he's going to start a thing for endangered species or exotic species or whatever. But it does make me question, though, like, are some of these other characters, like, is there something to be said that in this world where Bruce is already in their lives, where not all of them become the villains we think of them as? Now, admittedly, I suspect that no matter what, they're all going to become kind of what we think of them as. Like, obviously, Selina's already got the cat ears in that photo, which is already part of her personality. But I suspect eventually we're going to see that Edward is the Riddler in some form or another, that Harvey is going to become Two-Face in some form or another. But it is interesting to think that it seems like this relationship with Bruce means that they've not went down the exact path that they did the first, you know, the path that we're used to seeing them take.
Right.
You know, the fact that they're all friends to start with is interesting to me.
And I wonder if that's going to make them more allies, right? And this is kind of his de facto Bat family.
Oh, you sweet summer and ignorant slut. No, the point of this, Matt, is to make it more tragic when he has to take on like Two-Face, because they've been friends since kids. This is to break your heart, Matt. This is not to build.
Yeah,
like,
I don't.
Like Catwoman, sure, she'll probably become an ally because she usually does.
That's normal.
But some of these other ones, no. This is here to break your heart more when he has to fight them.
Yeah, see, let me be the Superman hope here, that, you know, so you can get the full experience of what Darkseid wants, right?
Look, I'm just telling you, this is writing 101. This is to create drama later. I promise you. So we see the people that are behind the party animals take out the previous mob bosses. So we've got a Maroni and a Falcone, and I don't even know what these bosses are, because the kid's got like tentacles or like.
Yeah, I don't know who they are, but it's definitely Black Mask because he calls him Roman, right?
Wait, who calls who Roman, actually? Is Roman one of the crime bosses, or is Roman the guy with the mask on?
No, that's his name, right? Roman Sionis is Black Mask. So the guy with the big helmet on that looks like a big bowling ball.
Yes.
Right? He's wearing the red jacket. Because they asked him, are these one of your guys? Right, let me see. Says rumor, these guys are your guys.
No, I'm asking who calls who Roman, because I don't think I caught who was being referred to as Roman.
So the one lady that's getting out of the pool first calls him Ro, and then the tentacle, one of the tentacle people, says Roman, and then he goes, "Hey kiddo," he goes, "When are you coming back to dance?" I think this is the one of the coolest introductions for this type, because it is Black Mask, but we see just how vicious he is.
Well, it's Black Mask, but he's got like this giant alien-style head thing going on. Yeah. And then like his allies have got like purple like squid tentacles coming out of their head. Like I don't know what they're supposed to be, if they're like a parallel to something in the regular DCU that I haven't thought of. But regardless, this all like ends with them killing the crime bosses.
And the way that he does it is cool too, because he starts unveiling these death masks from historical figures. And he's like, I collect them, and then he shows the Maroni and the Falcone, two of their own people, like two family members, and you're just like, oh man, these guys are gonna get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it ramps up that even when Gordon's trying to make a speech, the people are yelling that the party animals are like making them scared to go outside, yada yada. You see Batman put on his cowl, he's getting ready to take action. So the big set piece in the middle of the issue is this town hall meeting kind of thing where the public are yelling at Gordon. And notably, a woman stands up and tries to speak reason and say, hey, this is what they want, is us all fighting and turning on each other. Remember her for later, right? Obviously, at the time, we didn't know who this was, but later on, we're going to find out. It's kind of a big deal. So, of course, the party animals attack this, right? And they come in with their guns. We also meet Barbara here briefly. She's one of the uniformed cops that's working for... Well, I guess she's not working for her dad, but she's
she's working detail, and then the other one is Commissioner Bullock, right? That's right next to him.
Did they say Commissioner?
I believe so.
I definitely caught Bullock. I don't know if I caught the word Commissioner at any point, but
later on they say Commissioner Bullock right there. So the lady that you said pay attention to later. It says just up to him or Commissioner Bullock. It's all up to up to all of us.
No, fair enough.
But then again, why is the commissioner in blues, right? Too.
Well, I think it's like a dress thing. Like he's there to in full regalia for a public appearance. I don't think that's necessarily what he's wearing
normally
every day, kind of thing. But yeah, so his daughter is a cop. And she's, concerned because Gordon flies to take a bullet to protect either her or whoever is around, because he's Jim Gordon. Damn it, doesn't matter what universe we're in. So they're kind of pinned down. These bad guys are here, and she actually goes up to the door to check who's coming in from outside. And there's a whole army of these party animals with these sort of demonic masks on, right? I mean, they are gorilla masks, but they're sort of gorillas that have been the gorilla skulls that are black.
Yeah, that's why I said primate masks, right? Because they're not exactly, they're very ape-like.
Yeah, but anyway, Barbara's sticking her head out to see what's coming, and this is kind of her first glimpse of Batman proper. Is just his head coming down from above, upside down, saying, "Whatever you do, don't open the door." So we get this huge set piece where they're all firing their guns at Batman. Big full page spread of him jumping down, and it all takes place on these big steps. Think the Rocky steps, right? For comparison, and you've got this army of these villains coming up. You've got Alfred as a sniper up in one of the rooftops saying, "Hey, this third party is here." In fact, actually, even before we get to that, there's a moment where he calls in, "Hey, these party animals are here," and they're basically going to massacre an entire town hall full of innocent people. Permission to engage. And the people on the phone say, "No, permission denied. You're just there to observe right now." Which is why it's wild when Batman shows up that they say, "Hey, is the third party there? You can engage with him. If he's ruining the intel you're getting by interfering, you can take on. But if you take on him, it's still going to affect everything else by I don't know."
Right, which definitely tells me there's something more sinister going on with this group.
Oh, for sure. Right? Yeah, I don't trust them.
Not at all. And also, Alfred has a kind of a Ra's al Ghul vibe going to him. The big mustache, the way his hair goes. Definitely something that I noticed. It's definitely an alternate Alfred, right? So, and that goes with that group that whoever he's working with.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I suspect that Alfred is going to end up working with Batman by the end of this arc, just because it makes sense to go that way. But yeah, so it's a nice big sort of epic moment here with all these criminals running towards Batman. There's that great panel on the next page where he's already taken out a fair amount of them, but there's more coming up the stairs. So Batman's just standing in the middle of these stairs with all these bodies lying behind him. It does a good job of making it seem pretty badass.
And this is a Batman that is using bladed weaponry, right? Because he's got batarangs, his bat ears come up and out, right? And he uses those like knives. And then
that's true. But Alfred does point out, though, like, because he's narrating this whole thing and sort of like giving his thoughts as he's watching Batman do all this. He says that, oh, this guy's focused, he's prepared, he's got a mission. And then the final thing he points out is, and also there's not a single fatality. Like, whatever he's doing, he's being very careful, even with the blades, to not actually hit any arteries. So Alfred kind of deduces, oh, this guy's an idealist. This is kind of, you know, like so an idealist, bloody hell. Like, he's kind of in shock of what he's seeing. It really sells the idea of like how much of like a different force Batman is to compare to anything that's come before him. Like, no one's prepared for Batman's existence, and Alfred's in shock at even seeing him operate like that. It really sells the impact of this being Batman's first big appearance to everyone, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I like too that he says, like, you know, a leg stomped on so everyone hears the crack, an arm snapped over your knee.
Oh, he's putting on a show. He's making sure everyone knows that he's doing all this. Yeah.
So real cool. And then this big guy comes after him, and he's got, it looks like a giant meat cleaver, you know.
Yes. Also, he's pretty jacked as well. Look at that arm. He is
big, huge dude. And this is where we get the introduction of the axe, or, you know, what did we call it? The logo axe. I
mean, did we know about this before?
Yeah, so I had seen this. Someone had said, why does that look like, you know, because we talked about how kind of dumb the logo looks in Snyder. It was like, look, it detaches, it's an axe. I know you guys don't believe me, but when you read the book, it'll be there. And so I had known about this, you know. I didn't know it was going to be this cool, though, right? Where essentially this guy comes after him. Bruce puts, you know, hooks it on. He pulls out of his utility belt a handle. And then the guy goes to attack him. He cuts off his arm. It's like, hey, you're going to want to get to a doctor. There's one down the street. They'll see you right away. And again, showing that he's not trying to kill people, right? There's a message that he is sending. He's cleaning up Gotham.
Regular Batman would not be cutting off a hand. I'll tell you, like, this is definitely a Batman who's willing to be more violent, even if he's still not crossing the ultimate line. So, very much worth mentioning. Also, he has these spikes that come out of his back at one point when he's like ready to, you know, go all full nuclear Batman. And he makes all the party animals run away, and Alfred criticizes him for like, oh, this guy's not that good. I had to set traps to capture the ones that are fleeing. And then just as he thinks that, an explosion goes off to stop all the people that are running away. And he's like, okay, fair enough. And Alfred is kind of stalling on even interacting with him. And it's not until after all this that he finally goes down and holds a gun to the back of Batman's head. And Batman just kind of quickly disarms him, you know, spins round, kicks him. Not a big deal. And takes his shotgun away from him, which comes back up a little bit later as well. But, you know, we see Bruce works construction. We see him a little bit at his day job.
Yeah, and this what I like, too, is that he's still very much Bruce Wayne, but instead of traveling the world and learning from all these different masters and whatnot, everything's very much in Gotham, right? He learns all these different disciplines about building the city, you know, from engineering, chemistry, and this, that, and the other. So it very, very much shows someone that is, you know, disciplined to their craft on trying to get better. And that he's worked his way up to like an engineer. So he's kind of responsible for what gets built. Not fully responsible, but he helps fix things that he is breaking, right? So like those stairs that he blew up, right? He's back and working on them like the next day to get them fixed.
Yeah, and most importantly, this is all coming again from Alfred's perspective. Alfred has very quickly figured out who Batman is and is following him around and kind of like keeping tabs on him. And you know, he does point out that like Bruce has intentionally gotten jobs at different sectors of the city to learn about the politics of the city, to learn about the infrastructure of the city, to learn about, you know, how the city works. Like, he's really kind of like studied Gotham in every facet. And he sees Batman go to the zoo to put down flowers, and it was hinted at the start, but so the backstory for Batman here is a little bit different. It's actually a mass shooter at a zoo when he was there in a school field trip, and his dad, Thomas Wayne, is a teacher, and he was the one that actually was taking the kids on the trip. So he actually locks all the kids in a room for safety and says, "Don't open the door, Bruce." And you know, clearly that led to his demise. And that's kind of the origin story. And of course, you might be thinking, well, what about Martha? Where's
Mm-hmm.
Martha here? Which ultimately leads to the reveal that we get in the last few pages, which is that Martha is still alive, and Bruce is, meeting up with her at the end of the issue, and that's your big reveal, and it plays nicely as well because at the start of the issue, when Alfred get back in Gotham, he left a message for Julia to meet
Mm-hmm.
up, and right as he's seeing Bruce with his mother, he gets a text message from her saying, "I never contact me again." So it's really saying or pointing out this connection where he's going to see him have a good relationship with his mother, and maybe he'll see something in that, he will feel something for that because he can't have a good relationship with his daughter, and that may be like an emotional connection that maybe clouds a decision that he has to make at some point about, if he's told to take Batman out, maybe he'll think twice for one reason or another, and this may be part of it.
Yeah, I like that there, as it's going through it, right? You see Bruce talking to his mom and how he went and left a flower at the old zoo, and that Alfred's like, I should have just killed him right there, and that's when he looks down and sees the message from Julia. It says, never contact me. He's like, but you're just like an effing kid. And that's what makes him go. It's like, this guy is just trying to do right. Who am I to stop him? Kind of vibe, which I like, because it definitely shows that despite working for this organization that just told him to observe and stuff, it does seem like there's a bit of a conscience to Alfred already.
Yeah, because he even says, like, I should be killing him right now in front of her, but I can't. Like, he's just a kid. And like you say, that's when he gets the text message and kind of like reminds him of his own humanity. And maybe the reason why his daughter doesn't want to speak to him is because he is this cold, assassin. Maybe, how much she knows about that, I mean, it's up for debate, but like, she's, at the very least, maybe, even if she doesn't know the details of what he does, the type of person he probably is in general because of the work he does and the sort of detached, personality he probably has.
Yeah, because there's this whole part in the beginning, a whole diatribe of how much he hates Gotham, right? And he goes to his favorite tea shop because the guy keeps the type of tea that he likes there. And Gotham might suck, but at least there's this guy. Oh, and while I'm here, I might as well talk to Julia. So he has a very difficult relationship there. And it wouldn't surprise me if it's because that's where his daughter is, right? And it's reminding him of all these, kind of what could have been, and he has no control over that. And so here, when he sees this, where, it's just a guy talking to his mom, he's kind of like, oh, okay, this is what humanity is.
Yeah, another detail actually on that bit at the start where he goes to the tea shop is he mentions that the guy running it's from wherever.
Kabul.
Yeah, there you go.
Which I think is in Afghanistan.
Yeah, and he mentions that, he came to Gotham after the conflict in Kabul, and Alfred says that, would he be as nice to me as he is if he knew that what I did during that conflict? And I think that idea of like seeing someone on the other side of the conflict and maybe him reflecting on that is another reason why he's ultimately going to do something different with Batman. So, the next bit is a confrontation where Alfred like sneaks up on him at where Batman's operating out of, which is actually the top of one of the buildings that he's been working on, because Bruce knows that these don't really get used, so it's kind of a smart thing. Batman's expecting him though, and ends up firing his own shotgun back at him, which obviously was a bit of a shock to the system to see that. But of course, immediately Alfred's narration points out, oh, he like modified my shotgun to be non-lethal. In fact, you actually see him when he gets up, he's got lots of little batarangs sticking out of his face, which is kind of funny actually.
I love he says that he made it worse, right? That was a good laugh.
Yeah. And then Batman just rides a bike off the edge of this building, and Alfred's like, where the hell's that asshole going to land? And then he did a big 2-page spread with a title card of Batman, like, just flying over, in front of the moon on his bike. But there's a little epilogue page, though, which is important. So one of the things that was hinted at earlier on is that Alfred was pissed for another reason for being back in Gotham, is that he was tracking down a target in, I think, Singapore, and the Philippines, and he's pissed that he get pulled off of it, and the final page actually indicates who that target was, because the company that he works for has lost him, they don't know where he is, but we get introduced to him here at the end. It's someone, you can't make jokes around him because, he never laughs, he's super rich, filthy rich, but people call him the Joker, because he never laughs at anything ever. So we have a Joker in this universe who does not joke and does not laugh.
and a Batman that memes. So
Yes. Well, it's interesting though that they've essentially given Joker Bruce Wayne's wealth.
Yep.
Because that's kind of
and somewhat of his origin too. Because when he tracks him down, he's like he tracked him to Ducard, right, 5 years ago.
That's right. Yeah, they mentioned Ducard. Yeah,
that he'd killed Ducard, and then the League of Assassins, and they were all dead. And so the fact that this version of Joker took out the League of Assassins, right, and he seems to be just some rich guy. It's like, what is going on there?
Yeah. I mean, who knows what motivated that? Because the first instinct is like, oh, he's a rich villain. That makes you think of Lex Luthor. But yeah, specifically those little details there about getting after Ducard after training with him, and even just like this final, because you can sort of tell he's really vaguely Joker shaped. He's got that kind of skinny face. He's in shadow, but it does make me go, oh, I wonder how he ends up putting on the makeup. Like, how does he get to that point?
Yeah.
Or fall in the vat of chemicals, if that's what we're doing. Whatever the path to full Joker is. Interesting, though, that he is kind of a separate character. Now, I wonder if the thing that's still true, though, in this universe, I wonder if it's still a thing where he is influenced because he sees Batman. Like, does seeing Batman operate, is that what makes him go, oh, I have to be more theatrical, I have to put on a show?
Because he's on that path, right? You don't go and train with Ducard for no reason.
Oh,
right.
Here's a thought, right? You know how Batman, now it doesn't seem to be the case in this universe, because Batman, or as a kid, Bruce Wayne seemed to like bats based on what we hear, because he made like diagrams out of bat wings or whatever they said about his backstory. But usually Batman has to overcome his fear of bats because, like, I have to like master my own fears so that I can use fears against my enemies, blah 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 blah. Usually that's the sort of thing, right? What if what they're going for here is the idea that the Joker has to get over his like lack of a sense of humor to become the character that can do what he's trying to do, whatever that is. I mean, I don't know what he's trying to do. Who knows what his motivation is? Yeah,
what if he's like that? That famous quip about Pagliacci. Sad clown goes in there. Doctor tells him you got to find the funniest clown, Pagliacci. He goes, "That's the problem, Doc. I am Pagliacci." What if it's something like that, where he's just there's nothing left for him. He has no meaning. And then he sees this Batman trying to fix the city, and then that's what gets it. He's like, "You're not going to do this on my watch," type deal. Because I feel like that's the one thing with Batman and Joker that's always there. It gets boiled down to the Heath Ledger Joker going, "Kill you, what would I do without you?" What if this Batman gives this Joker's life meaning, and they start the dance then?
Very curious. I think this was an enjoyable read. It flowed very well. The new characterizations were interesting to discover and kind of figure out the new spins on things. Setting up some of the villains being like childhood friends of Bruce's, setting up this weird, different version of the Joker. But I think what I liked about it most was just how like dark and hard-hitting it was. The fact that the villains are a gang who are just straight up massacring people and trying to commit mass shootings and burning down orphanages and like killing people as they exit the buildings. It feels a lot more just straight up evil than anything typical comic book villains actually do. Yeah,
it felt like the beginning of Assault on Precinct 13, right? With the ice cream truck and all that.
Oh, sure, yeah.
A very, very different, more brutal world that they're all existing in. So,
yeah, actually, the super gang from Assault on Precinct 13 is kind of what this Party Animals gang is. They're just this ultra-violent, murderous group who just keep doing it, and everyone has to be terrified of them.
And then there's a hint, too, that, Bruce is looking at the masks, and before Alfred busts in on him, he's making a recording to himself talking about, he's looked in there, there's some kind of technology also at play, right? So I'm wondering if there's, like, I'm not saying Mad Hatter exactly, but something similar, like the control.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's at play there. So, so there's something else going on with them. Maybe it's unlocking the worst parts of them, right? So they're still doing this. They're not under mind control or whatever, because that would also make sense in this world. Tapping into the worst parts of people.
Yeah. Maybe there's some sort of someone pulling the strings in a more literal way than just the boss giving orders, but. I think the new character dynamics are interesting. I think the new world itself is pretty interesting. As far as like intriguing as to where it's going to go with all these characters, it was enjoyable discovering what they all were here. Will that keep up as the book goes on? we'll find out. It's hard to say right now. Art though, which we've not mentioned too much other than a couple of specific panels, is mostly pretty great. There's the odd, you know, like Bruce when he goes to see his mum, like in that page, like he's got kind of a weird little nose, like which I guess is just the style of the artist, but
yeah, sometimes it delves into some kind of anime face or like manga kind of over stylized.
Yeah, there's a little bit
parts,
of that.
but for the most part it works. You know, like all the stuff that's done with Alfred going back, well, not going back, but stuff from the past that he's found out about Bruce, and everything's kind of done with that watercolor fadedness. Everything through there looks great.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, the big set piece in the middle, which is the town hall stuff that leads to the big fight on the staircase in front of the building, all of that is excellent. Like the layouts there, the build up, it feels like an epic action fight. It feels like something you'd get in the middle of a John Wick movie or something like that. It feels like a big mission statement for Batman, and the art is a big part of that. And of course, it does the thing when he cuts off the hand of like doing the completely red panel with just the black silhouette of the arm flying off. Now, admittedly, part of that's probably to keep it at the teen rating, because anything more visual might got them bumped up to the mature. But it is effective though. It gives you this fun comic book kind of feel to it. So no, and it feels like a big deal having Bruce and Alfred meet. You know, like you get kind of excited about them interacting and like what effect they might have on each other by like having that relationship form out of a completely new situation that did in the original universe. So yeah, no, I mean, solid start. I mean, these absolute books, so they've started, and this was the one that I was the most apprehensive about, I guess I'll say, the bunch. So off to a good start.
So I didn't realize that Nick Dragotta is the guy that was doing East of West, which was a book that came out years ago on Image, and the art was always a highlight. I didn't realize that was the same guy. It's been a while.
Who wrote East of West again?
God, was it Hickman?
I think it was Hickman. Yeah, I
think it was Hickman. But yeah, I pulled him up on here, and that was the first thing that came up was East of West. So I was like, oh shoot. But yeah, the art's pretty good. Yeah, it's a bit over stylized at point, but I think that drives the point home. Like you were talking about the action sequences and all that other stuff. You know, the super jacked Batman against that party animal guy, right? They both look like they're hooked up on Venom. So
yeah, no, it flows very well. I mean, my issue is mostly just if I have any issues, and they're fairly minor, it is just about maybe some of the regular human faces sometimes do divulge into, like, say, that manga kind of look, which I'm less fond of. But other than that, everything's pretty solid, and its use of like I say, doing the full color backgrounds, like I mentioned the arm being cut off, but even when like Bruce fires the shotgun, and like you see like an explosion basically coming out of that thing, and the background's all orange. It does a good job of making it feel like big action scenes. So no, very good. Matt, what are you rating Absolute Batman?
I'm gonna give this it's hard to give it a half point, call it solid, but this is an 8.5.
Yeah, I'm kind of dancing around that as well. I'm almost tempted to give it the 9, to be honest. I was kind of really into it. But I'm going to agree with the 8.5, just for that nitpick on the art. But the art is very good. I don't want to make it sound like the art's not great, because the art is great. It's just one thing's not quite to my taste, and that's maybe just a slight nitpick on it. Absolute Batman, issue 2, Scott Snyder writing with Nick Dragotta on the art. So yeah, it was kind of fun coming back to this. Obviously, we get introduced to a whole new version of Gotham, new version of Alfred, all that stuff last issue. And this issue actually starts off kind of following up, and I presume all of this first arc will, given the arc is called Zoo, but it's kind of the aftermath of like Thomas Wayne being shot, and Bruce is on the other side of the door, and just as he's like sort of pleading for his father to say something to him, who's seemingly sitting there dead, and there's light coming through the bullet holes in the art, which is a really nice touch. The bat like display behind him, the glass breaks, and he has his like swarmed by bats moment. Presumably, this is what gives him the fear of bats. Is this experience?
It's a lot more dark than the yes, Father, I'll become the bat, or falling into the into the well. Right.
Yeah.
This is a traumatized kid getting covered by a bunch of bats.
Yeah. I mean, the yes, Father actually become a bat might still happen. That might still be a beat later on.
I just mean in terms of origins and young Bruce being around bats. Right. This is a lot more traumatic than what we're used to.
Yeah. No, the actual origin of his fear is very different here. But I mean, I think the essence of like him turning his fear into a weapon is still kind of there.
In the fact that they're covering him, right? It's kind of reminiscent of the way that he wears his cape too, right? It's almost like they're his shield, to shield him from all this type of stuff as well. So yeah.
Yeah. So Batman's continuing to fight the party animals, and Alfred is monitoring this, even kind of like helping him a little bit, like kind of out from the shadows, because he sees it as beneficial to his mission, even though his employers don't seem to necessarily think it is. And seemingly later on, they want to take away the benefits or the protections that Alfred's got in place for him. But basically, Alfred describes Batman as like being this character who's always advancing, right, always forward, which neatly like acronyms to AF. So later on he says Batman AF, which has its own meaning.
And this is where DRAGOTTA and SNYDER were working great, because it's got Bruce looking at this building that's burning in the form of Batman's cowl, right?
Yes.
So when he says Batman AF, you're like, hell yeah, brother.
Well, even the page before that, because Alfred's talking about how he's been tracking his movements and all the possible like stashes and safe houses he's got all over the city. And when he looks at the map after he's mapped them all out, they vaguely resemble the shape of a bat. And he's like, God damn it, he's committed to this. He's committed. Like, no one's ever going to see this. Why is he doing it this way?
He is certainly committed to the bit.
Dear. But we see him get out of a few jams and whatnot early on with some tricks where he turns water into acid. Yeah.
Which I didn't know you could do that by adding concentrated vinegar to salt water. So, the more you know.
Yeah. And then, like you said, the building on fire. So basically, they all think they've found one of Batman's layers, which they kind of have, but he's sort of prepped it in advance and has it burning in the shape of a bat cowl, which is a hell of a panel, I have to say.
Oh yeah, like it's kind of silly in retrospect, but when you think about what it means in the form of the book, right, as Snyder's telling the story, it makes just a cool image. And that goes a long way.
I'm going to say it's more metal than anything they ever did in Dark Knight's metal.
Yeah.
It's very metal. So the whole idea is Alfred's saying, in any conflict, in any army or tactical situation, there's times to advance and there's times to, retreat and withdraw and like, recoup. And Batman never seems to do that, and that's why he says Batman seems to be always forward. That's kind of his thing, or advance forward was the exact phrase. So, it just kind of sets up that his opinion of Batman is forming as he's watching him work. Like he's starting to, like he never says these words, but it feels like he's starting to respect him. There's something about him that's like sticking out to him.
He's like, man, this kid should not still be able to do what he does, and yet he finds ways.
Yeah. So we see Gordon's in the hospital. Barbara's there. Billick's there. Billick wants to take down Batman. There's people in the news talking about Batman, and Billick thinks that Batman might even be working with the party animals, and Bab's like, hey, he kind of saved all of our asses. And he's like, yeah, it's all just a ruse or whatever. So Bab's obviously sticking up for Batman's early sign of maybe, where that friendship it might go. Yeah. But interestingly, obviously we ended the first issue with the reveal that Martha is alive, and Martha comes to the hospital to visit Gordon. They know each other, which is curious. And I
mean, he is the mayor. She does work as a social worker, so maybe they were friends from when he was a cop, right?
I mean, no, it's not far fetched. I'm not disputing the likelihood of it. I'm just saying it's interesting in terms of like them having this this friendship. talking about Thomas even, and talking about, you know, who this Batman is. I mean, Martha even says at one point Thomas would probably like this guy because he's doing something and, you know, getting results. And Gordon mentions that he was the one that found Bruce when he was swarmed by bats. Like, we see these quick little flashback panels of him finding, like, he was going to miss him until Bruce screamed from underneath all the bats, and like he basically says that scream, you know, will kind of stick with him forever, kind of thing. And we get like a more of a flashback here to when Bruce was a kid after the death of his father, and his mother talks about how he changed, how he became more like, you know, more of an individual. He started not hanging out with people. I think in the first issue, before we knew she was alive, I think I assumed that all of his group of friends, who are all these various villains in Gotham, were all at an orphanage together. Seemingly, obviously, that's not true because he still had his mum. Right. They're just his group of friends. We see them come to hang out with him, and he decides not to go. He says, "No, turn them away. Tell them I'm not coming out." And he throws his science fair medal out the window, which comes back again at the very end of the book. But it really is painting this, like, the idea of Bruce growing up with his mother still, but being really angsty because of how horrific the death of his father was, leading to Batman, is a slightly different, like, dynamic to growing up with Alfred when both his parents have been killed. So, yes, like, is he better off in this world because he still has one of his parents? That'll be an interesting question to ask and answer after we've read an arc or two of this.
And he's not, you know, we see a lot in the typical Batman story where he starts training even as a kid. He starts getting really into what he wants to study, but he's always by himself. Here it seems like there is that group of kids that was trying still to get through to him. And then when we see them later in the book, they're still kind of the support structure he has with them. So this is definitely a Batman that's not as solo as we think, right?
Oh, well, you say support structure. He goes to this poker game and basically uses them for intel. Like, I don't know if there's much of an emotional support structure going on here.
Well, I do feel like he is still friendly with them, right? He's still friendly with Croc because he goes to the gym. You know what I mean? So I do feel like there is his friendly support structure, you know?
I mean, I get what you're saying, but I don't think I got that from this issue specifically.
So I guess we read the poker scene differently then, because the fact that they're still there, right? So we see them when he's a kid and he doesn't want to be around anybody because he's upset. Yeah. And all that type of stuff. Yet these are the friends he's still going and seeing, you know, all these years later.
Yeah, but he only goes to get information from them. He goes to get information from Harvey about what's going on in the politics side of the world, and he gets information from him by the end of the scene. He gets some information about, like, you know, the shipment coming in or whatever from one of them. Like, it feels like he's kept them around almost strategically because he knows that they each have reaches in different parts of Gotham that he wants to know about. Now, he may still genuinely care for them as well, and we may see more of that, and the ending might even imply that too. But this particular scene to me felt very like, because they even mention, "Oh, you've not been here in weeks," because the scene starts off with him, one of them saying, "Oh, look who finally showed up after weeks of being away." I don't think he's here because he wants to bond with them. I think he's here because they're a resource.
They're a resource too, but, you know, still, that means he still goes there even before all this stuff started happening, right? Because we even get that in the last issue where where Croc is talking about how the guys miss him. You know, you haven't been around in a while. You know, and he was doing all that broody type of stuff. So I do feel like he's been friendly with them. And because I remember the last time we talked about this, you're like, oh yeah, they're there to be an extra dagger when it comes, right?
You know? Sure. Yeah.
I just think that these are still his friends, you know, and that's a bit different than the Bruce that we've seen before, where he's signed to the solitary guy, even with the Bat family. You know, he's off by himself, and that's how he was raised by Alfred. You know, just the lonely kid in the mansion.
I mean, I see what you're saying, and I guess there's some truth to it, but I do think this particular scene shows how he's using them just purely as a resource, and the fact that he has been brooding and disappearing for weeks at a time, like, maybe it's one of those things where he does care about them, but he, you know, like, he just kind of forgets to bother checking in with them, and it's not until he actually wants something from them that he goes to them. because I think the fact that obviously they point out in this scene that there's an empty chair and that, you know, we don't know where she is, right? And they're obviously talking about Selena, which we're building up to. And we'll get her in the present day, I'm sure, at some point. But at the end of the book, we find out at the end of that flashback, when he threw that medal out the window, she pops up at the fire escape holding the medal and say, hey, did you lose this? Which kind of suggests to me that she's the one that actually kind of like has a bond with him, like, you know, a real bond with him that kind of pulls him out. And if he is still friends with this group, I would suspect it's largely because she kind of like forced him to. She was almost like, in some ways, you know how Alfred was always the one that tried to push for Bruce to actually have connections with people. I feel like in this world it almost seems like, I mean, I'm sure the mothers maybe get a part of this, but what this book's telling me so far is that Selena's the one, as a kid, as a mutual, was the one who says, no, you're not going to be on your own, you're coming at least with me, if not with the whole group. And I'm sure we'll see, you know, what they did next issue as a pair. But I don't know, it was interesting, just kind of this the value that this group of characters kind of has for him, because they all have these different things. Because he intentionally brings like one of these like helmets that one of the party animals had that's got tech in it, and like Riddler starts like looking all over it and starts like theorizing. But we get little flashbacks as he's talking that Batman's already been tinkering with this. He's already broke into it and looked at the data it's got. He's already done all this, but he's like seeing what he's got to say about it and whatnot. So yeah. Plus, there's also this tease at the end of the scene where Bruce has got like, you know, 3 aces, but he says it's 4 if we're playing with jokers, and then one of them says jokers are never welcome here, and we get a close up of the card, and I don't know what that's saying about, like, because it felt like the Joker that was teased at the end of last issue is something that maybe hasn't been around in Gotham specifically.
Yes.
But at the same time, the way they say this here, it's kind of like, oh wait, do they know about who the Joker is and they're scared of him or whatever? I don't know, but
it's definitely a weird sentence to say that Jokers are never welcome here, right? And just in the scene, because it's, I mean, in a normal card game, you'd be like, yeah, but we normally don't play with the Joker, right? So, but for them to say they're not welcome here, definitely something's off with that. Yeah, and I trust SNYDER enough that, you know, there's a reason for that.
That said, though, at the bottom of that panel, there's like laughter coming. I presume that's like whoever said that laughing, because they just sort of cracked a joke effectively. So it's an interesting little tag at the end of that scene.
Well, and I like all their dynamics around the poker table too. You know, and like you said, each of them kind of represents something else in the city with like they get at Penguin for his, you know, he's hanging out with the you know, the more criminal element. Yeah,
the organized crime. Riddler's like the tech bro.
Yeah.
Obviously Harvey's and you know,
Two-Face
in the law system.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not Two-Face
in the DA's
yet.
office. You know, but they do call him Old Two-Face.
Yeah, they call him Two-Face for being well, two-faced in a more traditional way.
But yeah, he's in the DA's office and all that. So I definitely like the dynamics here within this group of friends. And even there's that one page that's pretty ominous with Penguin up at the top where he talks about, you know, why the F would I know, Bruce? I just, you know, just because my business is atypical, right? It gives him a little bit of a sinister edge here too.
Yeah, and he's very slim Penguin compared to what we're used to. Because this is what I liked about thinking about like what these characters all offer him in some way. Because Croc owns a gym, right? So it's all about his physical fitness. Penguins get ties to the criminal underworld. Riddlers get ties to tech, and obviously Batman has tech and uses tech. And then Harvey, of course, is actually in the law system, like, you know, looking at criminals and whatnot and prosecuting them. So they all have like something to offer, part of Batman's skill set. If not just in information, but in the sense of like things that he can learn from, people that he can help let him understand parts of the city better. It's almost like instead of having like, I don't know, Alfred to teach him about half the shit that he knows, he's kind of had to learn it from different sources on his own. He's been very resourceful in that sense.
Well, yeah, because they all kind of represent Gotham as a whole for each of those pieces, you know.
And then Selena, of course, is one, the love interest, but also the stealthy, sneaky one who's you know, creeping around. So another part of Batman's character, kind of there. So yeah, Batman goes snooping for files. He's basically tracked using the helmet to somewhere. But when he goes to the computer, Black Mask comes on the screen and tells him the police are outside, all of his men are there, and I'd love to chat to you later, but you're probably going to die. So we get a big sort of Batman escape sequence where the highlight of which is probably Batman going down the elevator shaft, but having he's got his legs spread, so his boots are on either side, and there's sparks coming off his boots. And I'm like, all right, okay, go on, be badass.
This version of Black Mask is kind of creepy, right?
Oh yeah, I mean his head looks kind of alien, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason why it took me a good while in the first issue to even get that it was Black Mask, because he looks so different.
Yeah, he's super creepy, and the file though that Bruce clicks on, it says Ark, but there's an M next to it.
It's Arkham, so it sounds like Arkham, right? Something to do with Arkham.
So just another way that they're kind of flipping this absolute universe, playing with familiar things. But yeah, that whole sequence with him going down the elevator shaft and then landing, it's really good action storytelling.
Yeah, and then as Alfred's waiting for him down there and says, "Hey, hear me out, kid. We can help each other," and tries to make a deal with him. And he's like, "Okay, I'll give you 30 seconds, but I've got to get out. We got to get out of here first." So the big cliffhanger at the end of the issue is at the bottom of this building, Batman has one of those big sort of
it's an excavator.
Yeah, there you go. I was going to say bulldozery truck, but yeah, a big excavator truck. But he's got a bat shape, sort of bolted out at the front of it to make it look a bit more
like a cow catcher on a train.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah. and it's kind of vaguely bat shaped, and it's just it's one of these ones that's it's like one of those big dump trucks that's the size of an office building that you see in mining operations.
Yeah, there's a cop car flipped up into the air as it comes out. So yeah, this is the most ridiculous vehicle that Batman might have ever had. So fair play.
And I love SNYDER just being like, all right, how big can we go? All right, what are these massive excavators? Why not? He works in construction.
Yeah, and then obviously the final page is that little tag we mentioned before with young Selina coming to get him as a kid, and she's got a hoodie that's got cat ears on it, which is how they've got the Catwoman kind of imagery. And
I like how it gets a little bit more pastel and kind of hazy. It gives it more of an ethereal kind of vibe.
I mean the coloring's been different on the flashbacks throughout, but it definitely goes even more pastel in that last scene, just maybe because there's a sense of comfort because Selina's the person that he cares about. But yeah, she says you're coming with me, so it's this idea of no, you're doing this, you don't get to say no, so because you need this and this is for your own good. So it suggests a lot about how important Selina is to him, arguably more important to him in this universe than she ever was in the main universe, because she's someone who's been fundamentally there most of his life. I could see how we play with that and whatnot, and it starts to make you wonder though, when we eventually do have versions meet the real versions,
how's that going to play out?
Yeah, real Batman meeting this Selina, or real Selina meeting this Selina, or whatever. There's so much potential. That was very good. The art was fantastic. I'm loving this new version of Gotham. I was a little bit worried. This was out of the Absolute books, this was the one that I was the most hesitant on before I read any of it, just purely because I got to a point with Scott Snyder on Batman where I didn't even really want to read any more Scott Snyder Batman. He did that All-Star book at the start of Rebirth, and I just noped out of that instantly. Yes. Because I'm I was done with his take on Batman. But this is so different, it's so fresh, and because it isn't regular Batman, he gets to be a bit more free with the weird ideas that he has and whatnot.
Yeah. And again, it seems like he's playing with the idea of what in Gotham makes Bruce Batman. That's still a key factor, and it's okay, well, all this stuff's a little bit different, but the outcome is still the same, and so I like that how he's approaching this. Yeah,
and once again, he does something that I don't think regular Batman would do. I don't think turning the water into acid, which doesn't kill anyone, of course, again, but someone does mention as they come out that they've lost some toes, and I don't believe regular Batman would do that. No. So it's definitely showing us once again that this is a harder edge Batman. He still has that line that he won't kill, but he's
Yeah.
willing to cut off some
Meme.
limbs.
Yeah. I said no killing, not no maiming. And I definitely there's a line in the movie Salt Lake City Punk where he says, like, you know, if the young me saw the me old me is, he'd beat my ass. And I feel like that's absolute Batman to our regular Batman. You know what I mean? He's just like this young, full of piss and vinegar type guy that, again, you know, he's not afraid to maim or make acid that loses some toes. So,
Okay, can you imagine what an absolute Robin would be like if we get to that?
so I've been thinking about that. I'm trying not to get too ahead of it, but like with, you know, we know now that Gordon and Martha Wayne were friendly, right? Which means that Babs must know Bruce from when they were younger, right? So what does that mean for Dick Grayson, right? Because we always have Babs and Dick around, but they're usually around the same age. So that means when they do bring in Dick Grayson, is he going to be closer? You know,
I usually think Babs is actually a year or two older than Dick. Close, but like I always kind of like you know, Robin, like Dick becomes Robin first, but Babs I've always thought of as being a little bit older.
yeah.
Maybe that's just based on Batgirl Year One or whatever source I'm taking that from, but that's always the vibe I've gotten.
Because it also says that Bruce has been volunteering with the Red Hood, which is like this mutual aid organization, you know, that helps out.
Oh no, he says it was speculating that, did he not?
Oh, he was speculating.
Yeah, no, he suspects that that's not true. He thinks that's just a rumor.
Okay, because he says, yeah, he goes, there's rumor he meets with the Red Hood, a suspected resistance group. Okay, that's what that part was. Yeah, so they're playing with a little bit of that. So like instead of the Red Hoods being like this gang, they're a resistance group, and it just made me think of the Robins. And like when we do get Dick Grayson eventually, like is he just going to be closer in age and they'll be partners that way, right? And it won't be, you know, this is his, you know, de facto son, you know, more of a brotherly type relationship, you know, because you'd think that Babs and Bruce are pretty close in age at this point. But yeah.
Yeah, I would probably still say Bruce is probably a couple of years older, but I feel like Babs feels like she's like a year out of the police academy or something like that. Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's all. But I don't want to get too ahead of it because I am enjoying the story that they are telling. But yeah, it was that Red Hood line that kind of made me start thinking about, you know, all these other side characters, right? And then over in Superman, right, we have the Lazarus Corporation. Can't even talk today. And then how that fits in. So it feels like they're playing with a little of these elements here and there. So, but yeah, it just gets me thinking.
Yeah, there's a lot of play. So what are you giving Absolute Batman issue 2?
I'm gonna give this a straight 8.
8.5 for me. I think I'm really digging it. Big badass moments, good sequential art. It's just fun seeing how the different character dynamics are working, and it's not just a case of, oh, this character's different because we wanted to make everyone a little bit different, so we're just seeing where they are now. The fact that each of like these villains that they've introduced at the poker game all play into how Batman is formed and how he's using them in this universe feels very well thought out to me. It feels like, how do they fit into this puzzle of this Batman? It's not just about having a different version of each character because, oh well, we have to have them be different, so we'll have, you know, Penguin be skinny. It's more about how does his relationship with Bruce affect the fact of like where Bruce is and how he's gotten to where he is as Batman. And I think that makes it feel a bit more weighty to me. So yeah, good stuff. Absolute Batman issue 3, Scott Snyder writing with Nick Dragotta on the art. So this has been a very interesting book so far, with Assassin Alfred and whatnot. This issue also fleshes out the backstory a little bit. We get more of those flashbacks with young Bruce and Selina. This is the first time we've actually really gotten to see Selina properly. I mean, she showed up at the end of the last issue, flashbacks, but that's kind of it. Like, she's been very notably absent. Like, she's been the one who's not been at the poker game in the present day stuff so far, hinting the big connection that Bruce and Selina have. And we also had the big cliffhanger of the Bat dump truck last issue, which is where the present day stuff starts off with. So, you know what, Snyder's Batman is something that, you know, I grew very wary of over his New 52 run, and every attempt that he had of like doing an all-star book or doing
This is
whatever.
very different, though, isn't it?
Yeah, this is much better than all of those. this is this has been genuinely fascinating with every issue.
I think two things I want to get out of the way first. One, I actually didn't love this issue. I think it's the weakest issue of the three by a noticeable margin.
Oh, aye, go on.
But I was mostly on board with it. I'll get more to that specific as we go on. And just in terms of Snyder's Batman, I feel like this is what he wanted his all-star Batman to be. But he was never allowed, because it was still recognizably Batman, right? His all-star. It was recognizably just Bruce, just slightly further on, slightly different, little tweaks here or there, but it was characterization. It was very much just a slightly darker Batman.
Yeah, I mean, because me and Matt talked about it, but it's, this is a Batman who still has that harsh line. He does not kill, but he will chop off a limb. This Batman, whereas regular Batman wouldn't be doing that.
Yes, it's a very different Batman, and I will say I do think this book and some of the other Absolute books are absolutely carried by the phenomenal art. I think Dragota is fantastic, and I appreciate how different it actually is. Like, they really committed to being a different Batman, and I think that's what Snyder needed. Especially as Lacey, he must have written Batman well over 100 issues at this point.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Yeah, and I think he was like, and I probably like some of his Batman stuff more than you do, but he needed that fresh take, and I think this is truly a fresh take, and I'm kind of impressed that Snyder managed to do that, because I didn't know he had it in him when he had that much Batman experience still.
Yeah, I mean, just revealing the mum was still alive. Martha's still there at the end of issue 1. The weird friendship that he has with the villain. Me and Matt actually had a bit of a debate last time over something stupid, but the thing I was getting at was that this idea that, like, all these villains that he goes and has poker with, like, he uses them all. They're like windows into different parts of the city that he can kind of tap into. He goes to Harvey to hear what's going on in the legal system. He goes to.
But is he actually friends with them or not? Is the question, right?
I think he is to an extent, but Matt was definitely leaning way more on oh no, this is like his support group. This is kind of sweet that he's friends. And I'm like, I think he is friends with them, but he is using them. Like, they are like conduits into all these different areas.
I think the thing that makes it very noticeable that he is using them, as opposed not to throw Matt under the bus when he's not here to defend himself, but for me, the thing that makes me fall more on your side is the fact that they didn't see him for months, right? That he wasn't showing up to the weekly poker game, but as soon as he needed stuff again, as soon as things were ramping up and the situation was changing, that's when he shows back up for info.
Yeah, but you've got this much harder edged Alfred who is begrudgingly coming to like him, but and that's even a joke in this issue where he's like,
Alfred, though.
Yeah, he's like, I hate Batman, and then 2 pages later, okay, I might love Batman. Like, he's impressed with the ballsiness of him.
I think this took the Jeff Johns Earth 1 version of Batman. It took that Alfred and it turned it up to 11, because I think it's very clearly based on that specific version of Alfred. But it took that and it turned it up and kept him more active in the game. And obviously he doesn't have the relationship with the younger Bruce. This is fresh. I kind of love it.
Yeah.
Probably the best thing about the book for me, outside the art, is Alfred.
Yeah, I like Alfred. I like how much darker this version of Gotham is. Like, the party animals just feel actually like a vicious, group of characters. Like, Thomas Wayne's death being like basically a mass shooting incident is like really dark, but really sort of makes it fit into like the world today.
More current.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's a lot of things there that work. Obviously, there's a lot of fun elements to it as well, which is all this bat dump truck stuff where it actually transforms a little bit into a more mobile vehicle and goes faster.
And then he hits the nitro boost.
It's the nitro boost, and then also tricks Alfred into jettisoning himself out of the top of it as he goes into the water, and then just drives underwater because he's prepped for that. Yeah.
Man watched his Top Gear.
But obviously the main hook of this issue, though, other than maybe some of the heart-to-heart stuff where Selina's taking Bruce to watch Zorro and his friends end up showing up and the mum's watching on all heartfelt, the main thing is Alfred telling him, hey, the smart thing to do here is to make a deal with Black Mask, with Roman Sionis, right? Promise that you'll leave them alone if they stop going about killing people, and it'll put an end to everything. Batman can grow into something bigger, and we can take down Black Mask at a later date, the people I work for. And Batman's like, no. And obviously, in the regular DC universe, Batman is like, F you, I am never doing that. And this issue ends with him saying, I'll take the deal.
Yeah, and I think it's very intentional as the cliffhanger, because it leaves it up for debate as to whether or not he is taking the deal, which is believable because it's this other version of Batman, or if it is just a case of getting him further. It's a it's a bluff, right? He's just trying to get in.
Which it might very well be, yeah. I mean, I think regular Batman wouldn't even make the bluff, though. I feel like regular Batman would...
I think the thing is, if regular Batman tried to make the bluff, no one would believe him.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas I think this version, I appreciate that we do believe that at least, like right now, it's 50-50 as to whether or not that is genuine or not. And I think that's honestly quite big to have got to that point where within 3 issues, you can tell me that this version of Batman would take that deal, and I'd believe it.
And there's a few things that go into it, because it's not just the violence thing. They're also paying him, like, was it $10 million? And this is not a rich Bruce. This is a Bruce that is, working class.
Yeah, and there's a little bit behind the scenes in my head of like, well, maybe this is how he becomes more the Batman that we know with the money, right?
But there's also the idea that his mum is stepping up to be assistant mayor and putting herself in this spotlight where she could be a target for these villains. So he might feel this pressure to like get more resources so he can do more to protect her.
I think part of it as well is the idea is if he agrees to this, maybe it keeps her safe pretty more directly as well.
Yeah,
because
true,
they won't have to target her.
Yeah,
I do think, again, the cynic in me of looking at the gears of how do they make this slightly more Batman-y is he takes the deal and they still kill his mum anyway, and this is how he becomes orphaned now, right? It's different, but like it's just enough there that I can see maybe where this could go.
I'd probably go as far to argue to say that the idea of them stopping their attacks on political figures is probably his main motivation. Well, after that conversation with his mum, I think that's the final. If he was considering it before then, that was the moment that pushed him over the line. If he has agreed to do it for
I agree.
real,
and if we take it at face value that he has agreed to it and he is going to go through with this, I think the moment then is if they don't stop their attacks and they kill or injure his mum anyway, that's when he it's kind of like Batman Unleashed, right? I suppose.
Yeah, really interesting stuff. The stuff with the kids is mostly sweet, but it's just emphasizing this idea that Selina's the one that he has the most personal connection to. She's the one that really matters to him. And her absence is still felt. Like I love how they're building up to finally seeing her in present day, because it's like, oh, we've still not seen her. She's been notable by her absence, and that's actually quite powerful. So yeah, I think that's really cool. There's obviously some hints at one point. I don't remember what scene it was, but someone talking about JK something companies buying up. Is their plan for, because Arc M is so there was Arc A, Arc B, Arc C around the world. Arc M is the biggest of these private prisons or whatever it is.
This is one of my bigger nitpicks with this issue. I don't like it. This is one where it just feels a bit shoehorned. It's just like, oh, we gotta get it in, but we're gonna be different for the sake of being different. This is the first one where I really feel like you're forcing it a little bit.
I don't know how I feel about the whole, it's not Arkham, it's Arc M, right? It just sounds like Arkham. I'm a little bit mixed on that. I am still intrigued, though, by this non-laughing businessman version of the Joker. Like, when they revealed him in issue 1, I was like, oh, that's genuinely interesting. I want to see what they do with that.
Yes, I'm not necessarily against that. I'm not pro that either. Yeah, I'm kind of I'm waiting to be sold.
Because I wonder, does he become, in the way that Batman may become a more recognizable Batman over time, will Joker become a more recognizable Joker? Or is the idea here is that because Batman's working class, his Joker in this world is more of a Lex Luthor in terms that he's this villain with money who's working from the shadows, because that's the opposition to this Batman.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, there's some curious ideas. But the ending did have a lot of weight, so I get the concerns with the Arkham stuff, but I did still really like a lot of what this issue did to like develop and further differentiate it and go, oh no, he's making actively different decisions, which at least for the time being, there could be a time where it's just going to get predictable, where it's always just the opposite of what we expect Batman to do will be done. But so far, it's been played with quite smart, where a case is made, he reacts how we expect him to react, but he ultimately gives in and does the other thing.
Yeah.
So intriguing so far.
There's a fine line of if they do it every time, just to be different, or
yeah. At least here you can trace it back to a motivation, though, which is that his mum is still alive, and therefore she is someone, because he can still lose her, he's willing to do things that he wouldn't in the regular DC universe because he's not lost her yet. Because he can hold on to her by breaking his code, by doing something.
Especially when doing this directly protects her.
Yes. So that is an interesting thing to explore, and it feels like they're exploring something that's a natural knock-on question from still having her around. She's not, like, to the credit of the book, she's not just around to say she's around. It's having an effect on the decisions he's making, and that's proper writing. So, very good. All right, what are you rating Absolute Batman?
So, with the caveat that obviously there's all those positives, I hated the Arkham thing. Just while I liked the flashbacks with Selina, I thought it kind of killed the pacing of the issue a little bit, the way it was interspersed.
Sure.
I'm not sure it was... None of it was bad, but I always felt like I was just like, come on, I want to get back to the main thing. And that did bring it down a bit for me. So I'm probably going to go with a 7, which I'm knocking it down from like a 7.5 or an 8.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me it's still probably an 8. I still was really into a lot what they're doing. I enjoyed the flashbacks. I kind of agreed that at least the naming of the Arkham thing's a bit cute and like, okay, whatever. But, I mean, maybe they'll do something interesting. The idea that Joker's behind the building of Arkham is at least, I don't know, I could see them doing something with that.
I feel like, because like it's not an asylum, right, in this place, like, but you could have still called it Arkham. They could have still been like, you know, the Arkham family could have been involved, and that's where you got the name. Like there are ways that you could have done a version of Arkham here that wouldn't have felt as forced, I don't think, for me.
At the very least, though, potentially in the future, I might at least respect, like, thematically, it being an arc and what that represents in fiction usually, and, like, you know, what Joker's motivations are. There could be some at least thematic reasons for it beyond just...
That is to be seen,
Yeah. Absolute Batman, issue 4, Scott Snyder writing, also story by our usual artist as well, whose name I'm blanking on.
Nick Dragota.
Dragota, thank you. And art by Gabriel Hernandez Walta, who, this is a flashback issue, which kind of goes into a little bit more of the origin and some of his like current attitudes and whatnot.
Yeah.
This
Snyder kept going out of his way.
Definitely a fill-in issue, right? Like, because Dragota needed some time.
Yeah.
So as Snyder's been saying online, he goes, guys, this is going to happen. We're going to have these built in where it's kind of not, he didn't want to say a pause in the story, but it's going to help frame things towards later.
I feel like personally, right now, without the context of later, I think I'd rather them just take a month off. Like, hey, if you can get 3 issues, take a month off, and then 3 issues. That's what you gotta do for Dragotta's pacing. I think I would rather that than just shove these kind of random fill-in artists in between. Personally, maybe you could do these between arcs.
I don't know. I don't mind this. I think to take, you know, to jump up, because I only read issue 3 this week because I wasn't here for the last when it came out. So jumping from that one to this back to back, it wasn't that bad. Although having maybe a gap, it might have affected things a little bit differently.
I mean, I think my only issue with it is that, because I think this is a pretty solid issue. I think some of the new spins on the kind of the early origin stuff. There's like one moment as well where he says, "The rich have eaten well" or something like that, and I thought, oh, that's a good little reference to Year One, because that's a big famous line from Year One. But I think my only real issue with it is that it does feel like, maybe to Connor's point about this, maybe would be better between arcs rather than in the middle of an arc, because I really liked the ending of issue 3 and was excited to continue the story from that point. only to start this and be like, oh no, we're not doing any of that this issue. We're just going to be doing some more origin stuff.
So last page aside, where it kind of like continues setting up the next actual issue. There's stuff in this issue that maybe could be referenced in the rest of this arc. It's possible, but none of it feels like essential that it had to be there. Like if we'd learned all this after issue 6, I don't think there's anything that would really feel like we were missing at that point.
No. I wish I knew going in that it was going, because I didn't really know until I started the book that it was going to be like a separate kind of part of the story.
I'd seen SNYDER mention that, hey, you know, it is still part of the arc. Like, it is still included, but it is a different artist. And obviously, I didn't know what to expect. And because I'm not familiar with this artist, I don't think I've ever read anything from before. They're not bad, but I feel like it's jarringly different from DRAGOTTA's stuff, and I'm not as big a fan of it.
Look, Batman's not, and I understand. This is early. This version of Batman, of Absolute Batman, he is not jacked enough to be Absolute Batman. Early on, right? That only comes with DRAGOTTA.
That's kind of built in, right?
Well, that's fine. Yeah, he's not built enough yet.
But he's like freakishly huge, even in Absolute, and that's part of the stylistic, right?
Well, yeah, but it has to get to that size. So early days, him being a bit slimmer makes sense.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm just saying, like with the DRAGOTTA, I feel like that's still like. Other artists would still draw him big, right? Not freakishly big. Yeah.
He still looks kind of like, he looks like a very average person here. He doesn't look like even like a regular continuity Bruce Wayne. He doesn't even look like that here.
No.
Yeah, so this issue basically breaks down into 3 things, which are all kind of running concurrently, and it kind of bounces around them, which is sort of young Bruce Wayne at the trial, giving a statement before Joe Chill's going to give his statement. So Joe Chill is the culprit of the shooting that happens, even though the context of the shooting is very different. A little bit of time with Bruce and his father before his father's death, where he's building this thing for this bridge for bats.
Yeah, so what he has to do, right, is that the zoo is having...
Hold on, just the one second. I'm just saying what the 3 different things are. And then the third thing is like an early days Batman thing where he's like trying to be Batman. Some of it's not quite working, and he kind of changes up to be a bit more like what Absolute Batman's going to be. So those are the 3 kind of lanes that he keeps coming back to over the course of the issue.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Matt?
No, I was just saying that it's the tie with him building the bridge, right? Is that there's a contest for the schools, right? And that you have to do this kind of like young engineers contest, and it has to be based off an animal at the zoo. So Bruce picks bats because bats are very, there's more species of bats than almost anything else. They're very highly adaptable. So he's trying to create this bridge, and we find out through the course of the story as he's doing this trial and error, which is the kind of tie that goes through each of those stories Pete mentioned, is that he's the reason they were at the zoo. He won that trip for the class to be there. And, it kind of feels like this is him, part of the guilt of being Batman is the fact that he won that contest and the reason they were at the zoo that day and all that. So I really like that tie throughout.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't think I ever quite understood exactly what he was designing. I mean, they kept calling it a bridge, but I didn't understand why it was trying to, like, ward off bats. Like, I was confused as to...
I don't think it's trying to ward off bats. I think it's inspired by bats. It's a bridge that people can use in different communities.
Yeah, but the one that he does at the end has, like, little buzzsaws that come up at the tips to, like, keep people off or something.
How's that any different to, like, fences with spikes on the top?
Robotic buzzsaw arms is a bit different from a spike.
I mean, it's a bit cooler.
I'm saying, because he mentions why the buzzsaw was there.
It's like to protect the community, right?
Don't get me wrong. Like, everything thematically he was saying about when he was building it, when he was talking about all these different types of bats, they're very adaptable. They can be anything. They're the only mammals that can fly. Basically, we get this idea that he's very inspired by the idea of the bat, rather than being scared of the bats, like typical DC universe, right? Like, I got thematically everything he was saying. I just never quite understood what the hell he was actually designing.
Well, yeah, it's a bridge, right? And so I do like the what he ends up with is something that can pack up and move, something that's mobile, right? And that's the whole concept that it flies.
Okay. See, what you just said, it didn't make sense to me. Are we talking about a bridge, as in a bridge that someone can either walk or drive on to get from one side of something to the other?
Right. So in the contest, it was like it had to do with the changing environments of stuff, right? What design choice could help the most people, right? Let's just boil it down to that.
And
to him, it was
an actual bridge.
This bridge, this design, right? It can be moved to different places, right? And here he shows how the stuff comes off.
So
right?
if there is flash flooding in a climate crisis, for example, you can drop one of these bridges in to reconnect two communities.
Okay.
Yes.
I was just when he said it was portable, I'm like, what do you mean portable? How is a bridge portable?
Yes. It's kind of like in Batman Begins when Lucius is describing the tumbler and how they can launch it across rivers to help make bridges. That kind of thing. There's a
bonus points for somehow related to another Batman thing, but go on.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that's how I took that as is. All of this stuff that this Batman's very pragmatic, and it even shows in his design overall as a kid.
This is the thing. None of my questioning of what the hell he was building, because I never quite understood that, actually made a difference to understanding the point of the scenes, because it all made sense in that side of things.
I'm assuming we will see this bridge at some point later in the arc.
Oh, possibly.
Because they talk about how it can be used almost as a barrier fence for defensive opportunities and offensive as well. He mentioned at one point, like depending on what you're doing. Yeah. So I'm assuming we will see it again.
Especially,
this is the same. Go ahead, Pete.
I was gonna say, especially towards the end when he starts talking about how bats will get in anywhere and sort of adapt to the climate, and as he's saying that, we get panels of how him as Batman is taking over a tower here, a building there, and he's spread out his habitat. I guess I'll use it that way.
Yeah, because this is the same Batman that would later take a giant excavator, put a bat logo on it, and drive it through the city. You know. So I'm sure we'll see this bridge in some form and him using it. Maybe even flying it in. To save some people.
I will say I was very confused at first when we get the first scene of him trying to be Batman and he's got vampire teeth and claws, and I'm like, what is this? What am I reading? Yeah. And obviously after the scene when everything's wrapped up, he takes the teeth out and starts saying, oh, this is stupid, I'm using vampire teeth, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is your failed attempt to try to be scary. All right.
So I thought we were doing the whole Legends of the Bat type thing, the criminals thought he was a vampire and then he's biting people. I'm like, whoa. What are you doing, Bruce? This Bruce is definitely a different cat.
Yeah, and he even points a gun at someone, and that's the other thing that he throws away in sort of disgust and what am I doing here? What is all this crap?
He likes his theatrics.
He likes his theatrics, but he realizes that he has to go bigger. This is very small time. This is a Hammer movie with someone putting on some vampire teeth. He has to do a Christopher Nolan scene. So he has instead, when he sort of reshapes himself a little bit into a more recognizable Batman, he has a remote control little bat car that has a what you call it when you...
It's a jack that he uses.
A jack, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, the jack. Right? And so he basically...
jack.
He drives this car, so he's been monitoring these trucks that are smuggling weapons in and out of Gotham, and he drives it underneath the truck, and then we get a great big... It's not even a full-page spread, it's just the top half of a page. But basically the back of the semi, the container, just goes flying up into the roof of the tunnel that they're driving through. It's a really fun little action sequence, actually. I really like the some of the details here. He was talking about how because the weight of produce is a little approximate because of what it is, that's what they hide the guns in for customs and traveling and all that. And it says that people can say that they smell. You can smell oranges when they fire the guns. And I thought that is a really weirdly just vivid but dark. The idea that if you smell oranges in Gotham City, it might be because someone who has an illegal gun's been shooting someone. It's kind of just a really great little detail, I thought.
Yeah.
So you got that. You've got a young Bruce leaving the city to go and sort of find himself and whatever else and train and all the rest of it. So this is very much your kind of origin story issue that sort of fills in some of the the specific gaps that you might have for Absolute Batman, and it does a lot of intercutting between them. So yeah, I mean, there's some fun action sequences. Obviously, the art is very different. I do think the art's pretty solid, though. It's got a very old school kind of feel to it.
Yeah, the muted colors help that too.
It's not bad, but I don't really like it. If that makes sense.
Sure.
I don't think there's anything like objectively wrong with it. It is a stylistic choice. I think it does what it's trying to do. I just don't really enjoy looking at it that much, unfortunately.
Oh, that's fair. So Batman tracks down like who's behind the gun smuggling, and it's all the rich people, or not all the rich people, but some of the rich people in Gotham. So he's like up in the big penthouse party, and he's like watching in on them and all that, and has to run off when some helicopters show up. But the issue ends with sort of like late teens Bruce, I assume. I don't know if he's, or maybe he's become, but it's hard to tell with the art exactly what age he is, but it definitely feels young-ish anyway. But it ends with him going to the prison to visit Joe Chill, and that's where we end. So presumably next time we come back to this artist for a fill-in issue, I suspect we might get more of this, what this conversation with Joe Chill is. Yeah. I mean, I didn't really talk about like what he actually says at the court, but he basically just says that Joe Chill is a monster and he hates him.
Gives him the finger
basically,
from the judge.
F you, Joe Chill.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not going to wait and hear what your statement is. I don't have to listen to a word you say. Like, that's not ever going to happen. Which I guess the ending kind of like, no, he did come back to listen to something that he's going to say.
Well, because he's been changed by his experiences, right? And that's what it shows. From the time he was a child to now, you got to figure he's Batman, because the page before that.
Yeah. It's curious to see like what sort of like, if assuming we get to see this conversation at some point, what type of character Joe Chill will be here, because typically I'd say he's usually portrayed as someone who has some level of regret for what he did, but given what he did was in this universe was effectively like a much bigger thing.
Yeah, it was a mass shooting, you would think.
I was trying to avoid that phrase, Matt, because YouTube might ban us, but on you go.
Well, let's edit. Let's throw an edit in there. A bigger event.
Yes. A shooting on a larger scale.
Yes.
Can I just say, I do love like when he's talking about the different kinds of bats that he's been studying, and we get the whole the bat thumb, and him walking around on those crutches, and the caption that says, maybe a lot weird. And just the self kind of referential here that Snyder has, where he's almost like, you know what, I can kind of do different things with Batman in this book, and it's okay. I really appreciated that, and that image of Bruce balancing on the stilts of these bat thumbs, I think is very funny.
Yeah. He talks about adapting to the world that he's actually inhabiting. So, and comparing that to like a bat, like adapting to the habitat, the cave, wherever the bats decide to live. He studies Gotham. He studies like what makes Gotham tick. He's looking at I mean, I don't know if this is actually what he's looking at, but it looks like he's looking at the stock exchange as if, okay, this is a big part of Gotham, so this is what I need to understand. I have to understand where the money's going, who's in charge, all these things to understand how to affect any change in the city. Like, all those implications I like a lot. That said, though, I wish it was just the next part of the arc, because it left off in a really interesting place last issue. Yeah. So,
and I'm wondering too if that cliffhanger from 3 being informed by here now, it's kind of Snyder telling us Bruce is different, but he's not that different. That I don't think the choice that he made is what we think it is after reading this issue, right? So I mean, that's how I'm choosing to look at it. We're a bit informed of how different of a problem solver this Bruce Wayne is versus Bruce with all the money and whatnot.
That's true. I mean, yeah, the ending of 3 was very open to like several possibilities until we find out what the answer is. But I do think the fact that we can even consider that he made just the choice without any like plan the way he did is just a sign of, oh no, that's how effectively different this Batman is that we can even believe for a second that he made this choice because he's scared of losing his mother. Like, that's really good stuff. Anyway, I guess we'll rate this Absolute Batman. What are you giving him, Matt?
I'm going to give this an 8.
Connor?
It's going to sound quite harsh, but it's not as harsh as that.
You giving a harsh score?
I know. I'll go with a 6.5 because I think it's a perfectly solid issue that feels a bit out of place in the middle of the arc, and then I'm just personally not a big fan of the art, which kind of drags it down. A good if this had an art an artist I'd really enjoyed, it would probably be significantly higher.
Yeah, I don't know where to rate this actually, because I do think it's good. I mean, I think Matt's 8 probably sounds a bit right to me. A little disappointed it's just not the next part of the arc, but I do think a lot of the ways that it kind of twists and shapes why Bruce is into bats in this world is quite interesting, and how it sort of like is kind of compared to how he's studying and like taking hold of the city. So yeah, I'll agree with the 8, but it is definitely a bit of a pivot for an issue.
Yeah, I'm just imagining this with like Forna's art and that kind of grittiness. That would really bump it up. But
I would probably enjoy it a lot more. Yeah.
Absolute Batman, issue 5, Scott Snyder writing with Nick Dragotta on the art. So, Batman had made that deal with Black Mask, with Sionis, and this issue kind of picks up with him coming to meet Sionis for his payment of said deal. And as he's on his way, like, Alfred's kind of monitoring the situation and watching it, and he's, obviously it's his narration, of course, as it's always been in this book. And he talks about how he's like, oh, I think Bruce wants to like almost like goad one of like the gang into like breaking the deal, so he gets to just go back to being Batman and beating him up. It's like he's begging for it almost. And I thought, yeah, that's interesting. I kind of like that. Obviously, the big thing here in the flashbacks is we're kind of like dealing with the aftermath of the zoo incident, the death of his father. And Bruce getting his shot for the bats, and obviously Leslie has that ridiculous like foreshadowing line. Well, you know, this will be the end of you and bats. There'll be no more with you and bats. You don't have to worry about bats ever again. But the main thing being that Jim Gordon comes to him at his dad's funeral and says, "Hey, I wanted to let you know, Bruce, that they're going to tear down the zoo, so you'll never have to see it. You'll never have to be reminded of what happened." And later on, when it comes back to the flashback, he's like, no, I don't want it to be torn down. I want it to be a symbol of something. I want it to shine. And they kind of reference in the present day story when we see Martha and Gordon that every year like the zoo light gets turned on, but it's not getting turned on this year for whatever reason, because all the bad things have been happening.
Because the party crashers. Yeah.
So it kind of was, so as soon as they said like the light, I'm like, well, wait a minute, we have not had a bat signal yet. I feel like we're going somewhere with this. So yeah, the whole conceit of this issue basically is Batman waits for Sionis on this rooftop. Alfred's watching in the distance, and Sionis comes out and says, "All right, let's make you rich." And he's like, "I sent you the $200 million this morning," and Bruce is like, "I know, I already used it for something." Which impresses Black Mask. He's like, what did you use it for? And it turns out what Batman did, and we get a big full page reveal after some build up, is that he went to this big light that's in the zoo where this massacre happened, and he placed all the money on it in a pile in the shape of his bat symbol. And we get the full page of him standing kind of triumphant. Well, it's not even triumphantly. He's kind of hunched over, but it's very like the bat signal's in the sky above the city, and So honestly, what's the weirdest thing about this is that when the money starts burning, which is a really cool visual because you see the symbol and the signal start to like fade away as the money's like on fire. It really made me think of this town deserves a better class of criminal from The Dark Knight, because this is what the Joker did. He burned all the money from the criminals. I kind of liked it in a weird way. Batman's doing the same thing here to say, hey, you can't buy it. Because we talked about how at the end of that issue, there's legitimate reasons why Batman might cave and take the deal in this version of the world, because he still has a mum to lose. And his mum's been kind of, because she's this public figure, she's speaking out against crime, she's kind of at risk. She's got a bit of a target on her in a way that maybe other people don't. But no, he stands up here and says, I don't need money, I don't need computers or planes or cars, all I need is Batman. And I think what I like about that, as far as like just talking about the idea of Batman as a whole, is that I truly believe that regular universe Batman would say the exact same thing. Yes, he has all those things. Yes, he makes use of them. It's handy, but whenever his money's stripped away from him, he always puts on the suit. He always goes and bees Batman. That's all he really needs.
Right, it's his mindset. It's his symbol. right? And then that's what I liked about the Nolan trilogy is that's the crux of it is you have to become more, right? And when you turn it into the symbol here, right? It's in the sky, even if it's just briefly, right? But that's all he needs is that reminder, and it's the memorial light, right, for his dad, and the whole reason he does this. So that was a nice little piece.
Yeah, it's like even as a kid, he had this idea of a light to like give everyone an idea of the good people who were lost there. Like, the good thing, his dad was one of the good parts of Gotham, so he wants a light to represent and remind everyone there's something good here. The idea that he turns that into a big bat signal as he's building the reputation and the myth of Batman for Gotham, because this is early days for this Batman, so he's kind of like the city's starting to learn, and sort of that theatricality is starting to maybe build up and like build the mythos.
Well, and it's literally that whole stupid argument that we always get of like, what Batman has all that money, but Bruce Wayne doesn't do anything positive with it, and right, so he literally just set it on fire, right? Like because the heat of the light and whatnot.
Yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure Bruce Wayne in the regular universe is constantly funding charity programs and all sorts of shit.
I hate that every time it comes up. It's just a lazy argument. Like, look, we can talk hate on Batman. I will gladly do that. However, come with a better argument. All right, like that one is just like, ugh, you have nothing good to say.
Yeah, so, I mean, they don't focus on it too much, but it's always like he references it constantly that he's at a charity thing because he's he's funded this thing or he's done that. He's built an orphanage there. He's constantly doing shit.
Yep. But I love that here that he uses that money to make a symbol of Batman, right? And it's that big chunky, the axe thing that's on his chest, right? And yeah, it looks really cool in the bat as the bat signal. Yeah.
I mean, it's that big ugly bat symbol that he's got, but it's the absolute bat symbol, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So they all attack him, of course, and the one party animal member that had his hand cut off by Batman comes up for revenge and tackles him, and Batman just sticks all those spikes that he's got and he's like cape out, and so this guy just gets impaled to the point where he's stuck on Batman's back as Batman's still fighting other people. Which was very funny to me. I had a good kick out of that.
I had to reread that panel, right? Because he says, I'm stuck. And I thought that was Batman saying, get him off of me, right? But no, it's get me off of him. Again, Snyder has a way to be darkly funny.
Yeah, so, no, I had a chuckle out of that. Like Black Mask snipers start firing, but of course Alfred takes a few of them out as well. But they hit him with some nets. Batman is pinned down. He does grab Roman for a second, which is important because later he reveals it was a tracker that he's put on him. But yeah, he kind of loses this fight. Like they pin him down in this really like sort of tough net that's like cutting into him. And this is when we see the bat signal burning, or the symbol in the signal burning away because it's on fire. And the big thing here is he kicks Batman off the building, and Batman's like cape turns into like a parachute, but it's so badly like damaged at this point that it barely works. Is Sionis like broadcast to the city afterwards that he's basically saying, hey, everyone, like I used to kill pigs on a farm with the bolt gun thing, and it was what it was, but every so often a pig would die in a state of euphoria, like they would have a moment of happiness as they were being killed. And he basically explains that it's because, sometimes he would hit the part of the brain that deals with pleasure, and it would just flood the pig with pleasure before they die, but it only happened in the pigs that didn't, like, struggle, didn't like, tense up, that accepted what was happening. And he basically says, hey, all the corrupt leaders of this country are letting it burn. This city's, like, a shithole. Let's just enjoy it as it's dying. And he basically just puts out like a bunch of weapons and money and stuff. It's basically encouraging more citizens to kind of join his gang and say, hey, come be with us and enjoy the wild west that the city's becoming while it dies. Like, let's enjoy the moment of death kind of thing. Of course, the other big thing that happens is that as Batman sort of is getting away, Barbara Gordon, to remind everyone who's a police officer in this universe, runs him over with her car, not intentionally necessarily. He kind of just lands in front of her, and she gets out, pulls out her gun, and his cowl's even fallen off at this point, but he's got his head turned away as he's like sort of like crawling into like a manhole. he's he's clearly very hard. Like and this is something the lettering's done, where the speech bubbles are very craggy around his words.
Yep.
But she's like, "Hey, stop, or I will shoot." And he just says, "Then do it. Go on." Like he's just defeated right now. And she chooses not to. She calls in and says she's not seen anything. So that first sign that maybe his Batman Gordon relationship is going to actually be with Barbara in this universe is interesting. Like it's a bit of a change from normal.
Well, and that makes sense considering that Gordon has more of a relationship with Commissioner Gordon, who's now Mayor Gordon, right?
Yeah.
It has more of a relationship with his mom, right? So just keeping it generational as well, checks out. So, I can't get over in the next pages though how Alfred looks, because he looks damn near like Ra's al Ghul in some of these.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he's kind of had that look to him ever since it started because of the mustache and whatnot.
No, yeah, but just this one here, which is right above the bats are highly infectious. I was like, oh my god, that's Ra's. I was like, wait, no, that's Alfred. Right, and it was just like some of these decisions that are coming, you can't by accident, right? So we're playing with the Batman mythos ever more here.
Yeah, Alfred basically says he's never going to help Bruce again because he wanted this deal to go through. He thought this deal was the right thing. Yeah. He even stuck around when his employer said it's time to leave to help him. And he's like, look, I'm never helping you again. You balls this up. You could have had this. You could have used that money to be even better and bigger and a better version of what you're trying to be. And Bruce is sitting there with like so many little like bandages and stitches all over him. He's like truly just been beat up and destroyed. So the cliffhanger though is that some of these civilians who have like picked up these random crates of masks and weapons are near where Gordon and Martha are. And Gordon apparently he at least thinks he's about to lose the election. He thinks that his election is done for. So now I thought this was another great issue of this. I think you get the big sort of glory moment of Batman being defiant and saying, I don't need your money, I'm going to burn it because it means nothing to me. I'm the goddamn Batman, effectively, with that full page spread. But then he gets beat down and beaten. It's very reminiscent to me of RoboCop. Like, do you know when RoboCop gets beat up by Ed 209 and then the whole cop force shows up to shoot him? And it's just Murphy who shows up to help him get away. That's what Barbara showing up and letting him leave kind of reminded me of. Is Batman being beat and bruised and like barely able to stand and just kind of getting away, and like her deciding that he's not the bad guy here, even if he's technically working outside the law. And I'm curious to see how that relationship evolves from here.
Because his cowl gets left behind, right?
Yes.
So I'm wondering if that's a little bit of that we also get here when Alfred's talking to him. That says bats are highly infectious. So I wonder if she's going to be the first person to come to hit the bat cause, right? You're gonna have all these other party animals running around, but you're going to have Babs.
I don't know if she's going to physically, because I'm kind of at this point, I think it's more likely she'll be the Jim Gordon of of this, in terms of like she'll be the cop who's like actually helping him and whatnot. But if she does end up putting on a bat suit and calling herself Batgirl or Batwoman, I would wonder if like she literally picks up this cowl and like fixes it and fits it to her own head and like actually uses this cowl that he's left behind to start her outfit, or maybe just wears it once in a sort of defiant sort of thing.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, as the idea of Batman spreads, right? The bat highly effects. Because I feel like it's also Alfred, where Alfred can talk about all this. Like, I'm not going to help you, but he's invested now.
Oh, he's going involved. To. Ain't no way Alfred's not coming back to help him at some point.
Because there's that thing where he says, I was a field medic. I could help you, but I'm not going to because you don't listen. So there was that there too, where I'm like, oh, okay, he's playing the tough card here. He'll be back.
Yeah. So just like Bruce wasn't done with bats after the rabies shot back in the flashback. I don't think Barbara or Alfred are done with the idea of Batman after this issue, which is cool. I always love seeing how the mythos spreads throughout the city and like people become inspired and want to be a part of it, and especially since I think in contrast to what a lot of villains in early Batman stories usually do, the villain in this case is literally trying to inspire the opposite by actually appealing to the, hey, everyone, let's just become gang members because this world's screwed up. So just give in to the chaos and be bad. The idea that Batman's going to be the counterforce to that and trying to, no, don't give in to that. Fight for what this city can be, for the good parts of this city, I think is a good, two sides of that ideological battle. So
yeah, because there's the whole Black Mask argument is if you can't beat him, join him, right? So you're gonna die anyways. Why not here have some fun while you're at it? Also, I do like the look of the last three. It kind of is reminiscent of the Terrible Trio, which is another Batman. People that wear masks and whatnot.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is meant to be this universe's version of those three characters.
Yeah. I mean, they're a little bit different, right? Because that's usually what the Vulture, the Fox, and the what's the last one? The Shark.
I get what you think of it though. If anything, the mask made me think of the movie You're Next. That's what I was flashing to.
Well, so I've had reoccurring bad dreams about a stag skull like this. So that one was a little bit scary, So that gave me cause. But yeah, there's the bird looking one right next to him. I was like, oh my god, they're like the Terrible Trio. This is kind of cool. But to circle back a little bit on the whole idea of Batman, I do like that this kind of continues Snyder's take on Batman, because that's what he's always been interested in, right? From the time that he did the first story with Dick as Batman, right? As what does it mean to be Batman? And then throughout the New 52 run and whatever, he is always preoccupied with the whole idea and the spread of what Batman means to the city and to the world as a whole. So I'm glad that it's continuing here in the Absolute Universe.
And then DRAGOTTA's art, of course, is extremely solid and adds a lot to it. I think there's a lot of panels, particularly like Black Mask, when there's a panel where he's like pointing at Batman that really stuck out to me as just being really kind of cool and imposing. Don't get me wrong, he's obviously very skinny and kind of like a scrawny, like slimy villain as opposed to like a big tough imposing one, but it kind of works.
He's the physical opposite of Bruce, right? Because Bruce is this big, intimidating, hulking figure, and Black Mask is not. He's that slender, big bulbous head, kind of alien-esque, like a gray alien. But yeah, very creepy. Also, DRAGOTTA's art here as Batman's getting beat down too. The small panels and stuff. It's very visceral, despite you don't really see anything, right?
Yeah.
So very, very good on him for that one.
Yeah, no, I really liked that fight scene. It was really good. So, all right, what are you giving Absolute Batman?
I'm giving this one 8.5.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I'm almost tempted to bump it up, but I think I'll stay at the 8.5. Absolute Batman, issue 6, Scott Snyder writing with Nick Dragotta on the art. So, the civilians of Gotham have been tempted with cash prizes to commit crimes with all the masks and weapons that have been dropped off around the city. And specifically, Mayor Gordon's like, hey, $1 million for him. So it's really tempting everyone to turn into like just absolute bastards. And Batman spends a lot of his time in this issue trying to get to the source of like all this tech working to try and shut it down, to stop all this chaos from happening. As we get a little bit more, the flashbacks with him and his mom and like having the sleepover with the other kids, which actually turns out to be a nightmare because he has a whole thing where he sees his mom getting shot, and then they tease her getting shot like in the present day story later on, and I thought, oh god, is this arc going to end with Martha finally dying?
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, and they didn't. But that's the weird thing here. This was a little bit more effective than it normally would be when you tease a character dying, because part of us are all going, well, she's Martha Wayne. She's destined to die.
That's as long as they don't pull this, like, again. Well, they can't pull this every arc.
No. But, I mean, why would you just jump to that assumption right now?
I don't know.
That's a Snyder.
I think it's like you say, because we're all going, well, she's Martha. She's probably going to die at some point. Because that's in the back of our heads, I think there's a fear that they might play on that, like, semi-regularly.
Well, I mean, this was all the time they've done it so far, so it was quite effective here. And I enjoyed it. Obviously, Batman's able to stop everything before the guys with the masks. Like, basically, all the payment and stuff goes down. So like, oh, I guess this isn't working anymore. We may as well not bother. So and we also see Julia Pennyworth getting nabbed, which looks like she's getting nabbed by a bad guy, but then later we find out it was actually just her dad, like getting her out of harm's way. So yeah, we got that. But I mean, a lot of this though is like the action of Batman going to the boat, Black Mask's boat. There's a very Dark Knight Returns panel with him jumping full page splash with the lightning behind him. Obviously very intentional. And there's this thing where he's been really brutal in beating up the various like main henchmen that he's got, but he's given them life preservers before he throws them into the water, which is what I thought was just a great touch, because it was like, I'm not going to kill you, but
drop kick a kid off the boat.
Whoa.
Don't jump there yet.
That's not a drop kick. That is a punt.
That's yeah. So in the terms of sports, Pete, that's a drop kick. In the terms of wrestling, it's a punt. So there's a difference. For what me and you think of as a drop kick, which is the run, double foot, middle of the ring, jump kick.
Yes.
Versus what you would see in rugby and I don't know. Do you do drop kicks in soccer?
No, but it's rugby. It's a drop kick. Yeah.
I've never heard that term in relation to sport.
But for us, Pete, it's a punt, because that's how I described it. But before that, the one that got me is where he attacks the DJ and then he throws it around their neck and then throws them or kicks them off the boat. And the whatever that guy is, that mutant guy, kind of reminds me of Jason as he's floating in the water there. Just the messed up face and whatnot.
I gotta see it.
Yeah.
I gotta see it.
And then probably my favorite part in the whole book, and it's just because I hate children.
No, it's Batman holding up the kid, and the kid's swinging a knife but can't reach him.
I'll kill you. I'm gonna stab you, and he just drop kick punts him into eternity.
Yes.
I love it.
Just funny stuff. Super into it. I think the action here is what makes it so much fun. It's a build to get to Black Mask, and then Batman beats the shit out of him as well.
Also, like, how does he not break his neck when he smacks him with a bowling ball in the face? It looks like
it's just action movie logic. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like when you're playing with Batman and like him actively going out of his way of not killing by throwing the life jackets like 4 pages earlier. Show me him cracking a dude's face with a bowling ball.
Yeah, but let's just say that Black mask is reinforced. So Batman knew this because he's Batman. Okay. And he's just... And he only picked up like 8 pounds. Like, I know that's a lot still. You don't want to be hit with 8 pounds. But he just picked up a light bowling ball.
How about I smack you in the face with an 8-pound bowling ball and we'll see how much it hurts.
Look, I'm not Black Mask. All right? I don't have a reinforced... So it's going to hurt a lot.
We'll get you a reinforced mask.
Yes. Nice big red hood mask for him. It'll fit nicely. At one point, Black Mask here actually like pulls out like one of those like cords to like try and choke Batman, and like he's got like around his neck and there's blood coming from It felt like a violent fight. Like, I'm going to give it that. Like, they really went out of their way to make it feel quite visceral. But Batman ultimately wins by having his ears point forward and then just stabbing them into the mask. I mean, I'm assuming that he's not just blinded Black Mask, even though technically...
I think he definitely has.
He probably should have given this action that he has just pulled off. So, absolute Batman, he will cut off limbs and he will blind someone if they've earned it.
You don't need your eyes to live. You know? So, Bruce was just like, yo, we're done.
Oh dear. I mean, to be fair, he was being strangled to death when he pulled this off, so it was a last resort, so relatively speaking.
I thought he was just gonna headbutt him until he stopped. Where I was like, oh, we're gonna get the Batman headbutting Black Mask, and then when the ear started going down, I went, wait, what's going on here? Is he cutting the cords? Right? And then you turn the page, and he's he's headbutted him, but with the ears down, like a saber-toothed tiger.
This full page is what I saw on Twitter, like not long after reading it, and I'm like, glad I read that first.
Yeah.
No, that's
That's
fair.
a shame.
But even Black Mask gets the life preserver and gets thrown over the boat because Batman wants to blow up the boat, so he's made sure that everyone's off it first. But he's left in pretty bad shape. He falls into the water, and this is all intercutting. We're jumping panels with the flashback and the mum giving him the pep talk, and how she likes that photograph of him and the friends, even though it was the day that his dad got killed. And it's also intercutting with Martha and Gordon's near-death experience. And Martha punching a bad guy in the face because she's Martha Wayne, and it runs in the family, apparently.
She had a bowling ball, would have done more damage.
It's just the thing, too, that makes this, like, not pathetic in a bad way, but just the people and the kind of the point I feel like Snyder's making is they just stop and take the masks off and they go, oh, there's no more money? Right? Which 4 seconds ago, they were ready to shoot this lady, right? So just to see Martha knock this dude out.
Not like just shoot her for the sake of it. Right?
Yeah. But it's like, come on, man. So I do like seeing her just, punching the dude.
I think I'd respect them more if they just wanted to kill someone. Only doing it for the money and then immediately just not doing it when the money's not an offer anymore makes me respect them less.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of people who would kill someone for $1 million. Like, realistically.
Depends who the target is.
I think
some people I would do for free.
Well, yeah. I have very little faith in most of society, is what I'm saying here. That I think for $1 million, I think most people would kill someone.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's what Snyder's, saying, and there's a take on the kind of social media aspect of it too, right? Because that's where the party animals were getting the orders from, right?
Yeah.
Is in those masks, and it's kind of like a social media thing. So, kind of just the thing that people jump in to do things just because it almost seems like there's this incentive there, but their hearts really aren't into it, So yeah, seeing Martha KO a dude is pretty great.
Yeah, I'll kill Connor for maybe 10 grand. I don't need $1 million.
So Connor's the guy that comes up and says nobody. There at the bottom, like when it has like Gordon listed as the mayor and then Martha's the deputy. Then it says nobody, and it says 10 grand.
Yes. No, so the end of the book is that Alfred has stuck around and he actually pulls Batman out of the water and starts to patch him up.
It took me a second to realize what this was. So I'm like, what the hell is pulling up? And I was like, oh, it's Alfred in a submarine.
To be fair, it is a fairly weirdly shaped submarine.
Well, it looks like a pickup truck almost, or like the big bat dump truck.
I was say it's a weirdly shaped Batmobile. So
yeah. No, I mean the implication I got based on his previous conversation with his daughter, where she like doesn't want to leave and he like kind of forces it anyway. Is that he's agreed to come back and help try and fix Gotham because his daughter's refusing to leave it. And it's kind of like, I don't know, like, like sweet in a way, but also sort of begrudging. Like, okay, she's not leaving and I don't want to force her to, so I'm going to have to help this bat idiot like fix up the city kind of thing.
This boy needs refinement, as that thing, which I kind of love because it's Alfred.
So... yeah, that's where it wraps up, and this is technically the end of the first arc, so this will be where the first trade ends, which it does kind of work in that. It doesn't feel like, obviously, like an ending, but it does feel like Alfred choosing to come and work with them does feel like a sort of a very defining evolution of where that relationship has been throughout this first arc. And Black Mask has been taken care of, so they have dealt with the initial villain, I suppose. So, no. But I think that's maybe a testament to the story not feeling like it's revolving around who the villain is, and it's more about who this version of Batman is, and that's definitely not something we're done with exploring.
That was a big subversion with half of his rogues now actually being in on it.
Well,
that's actually another good point that happens in here, is that Batman goes to Croc, Wayland, and says, hey, I'm Batman, I need your help. And it turns out everyone else in the group finds out, and is like, Harvey says Riddler says he figured it out weeks ago.
Of course he didn't. Yeah.
I got a chuckle out of that. Is he claiming that you already figured it out?
It's like that kind of means that we won't ever get these become the rogues. I don't think. If we do, it'll be a very, very, very different relationship.
Yeah, very different for sure. Yeah. Well, one of the big things I was talking about a few issues ago was this idea that he was using this weird group of friends that he has because they all still kind of have ties to like what they have in the regular universe. But, you know, Harvey's still a lawyer, so he has ties to the justice system. Like Oswald is like someone who works with organized crime, and Riddler's still doing stuff with his tech. You know, it kind of feels like he's getting all this intel from all these various locations because he's connected to these insiders rather than them just being villains.
It's more likely now that this is his team. Like this is his, you know, like instead of having
Cat family.
Yeah, instead of having Oracle and Robbins, he's got these guys instead.
Although eventually, I expect there's going to be at least one absolute Robin. Now, who that Robin is open for debate.
I don't know, like
how that goes.
I don't know how you bring a Robin into this version of Batman.
I don't think you do it as a kid. I think you do it as a partner. Is what I think.
Why don't you do a kid, but you do like a kid who's like, you know, like 16 rather than
definitely the kid who just punted off the boat.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Pete, this is a universe where kids get punted off of boats. You cannot bring a kid into the absolute universe fight.
I'm saying someone who's, you know,
never mind. While he's a kid, ignore me.
Yeah, in their teens, like verging on like almost being an adult. So it's not about that age.
I definitely can see it more being the Batman Forever kind of older Robin that stumbles across them, you know. But also, don't think we also got Catwoman, and maybe like if he's gonna have a partner, maybe it's gonna be Selina in this, right? It'll be Batman and Catwoman instead of Batman and Robin.
I mean, I don't know if they'll go that way because I mean, I don't see why Catwoman's like frenemy or like romantic tension or anything like that is going to have to be anything different because there's no Robin. Like, I don't think it's going to like redefine as like this universe's version of the Robin. It'll just be this. She'll still just be this universe's Catwoman. You know, if that makes sense.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But maybe in this universe we don't need because he has this partner that he gets at in Selina. You know what I mean?
No, I just think that they will not be able to resist having a story where there's an absolute Robin because they can market it as this storyline is where we introduce absolute Robin. They're going to do it.
I hope it is the Squid Kid. He kicked off the boat.
It's not the Splatoon kid. No, I was trying to think. What was the video game of the squids? What's the one where they become squids?
I do not know.
You're a squid now. You're a kid now. I don't know. It's a Nintendo thing. It's not my area of expertise.
Anyways, this epilogue that's super creepy.
Oh yeah, the epilogue, of course.
What is this?
Well, this is obviously we teased this Joker who does not laugh before.
Yes.
It seems like he's hooked up to something.
So is this supposed to be Joker then?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Look at the eyes. 100%
okay.
Joker.
Yeah, it's Joker. But the guys to reporting to him is like, hey, the whole party animal thing's not went down well in Gotham. We've hit a snag. And Joker's final line is "Get Bane," and we just were talking in the solicits about how Bane's on the cover for one of the issues. So
he seems to have a few like Ra's al Ghul elements, like with the immortality. Like he's draining the life from these things because he's like withered hands, and then it's a young hand on the last page.
It looks like he has blood boys.
Yeah, well,
it does have blood boys,
but it looks like he was white Joker-esque before he rejuvenated. So it seems like he looks normal when he's been rejuvenated with these Lazarus babies that he's sucking life out of.
I think, like, especially knowing Snyder, this might legitimately be like an ancient vampire Joker.
Oh, maybe. But I think it's interesting though that when time passes and he needs to rejuvenate again, he looks more like classic Joker because he goes white.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting little touch, but
maybe Absolute Robin's one of these blood babies.
Every time we see anything remotely possible, we're guessing it's Absolute Robin now.
It's a bit. Okay.
Maybe Robin has a nice ring to it.
Yeah, blood baby.
All right. Matt, what are you giving Absolute Batman?
I'm going to give this an 8.5, and the extra 0.5 is for punting the kid.
Connor, what are you giving Absolute Batman?
I'm giving it a 7. I had fun with it. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, solid 8 out of 10 for me. I like a lot of what it's doing.